Tihei mauri ora. Tihei uri uri, tihei nako nako, katauha, whakatauha, te rangi e tūnei. Katauha, whakatauha, te papa e takota nei. Katauha, whakatauha, te kura mai Hawaii. Ko I arokuhi a manawa pau roto. Ko I arokuhi a manawa pau woho. Kia wakatina, kia tina, te more I Hawaii. E pupu ana hoki, e wawau ana hoki. Tāre watu ki te rangi. Tūturu o whiti whakamaua kia tina.
Tina.
Hui e.
Taiki e.
Whakatira ke runga. Nei anō kia tukunga mihi o te wā tuatahi ki tō tātai nei kaupapa nei. Ki te tangata e takota nei. Tēnei anō te mihi ki aia, me ki rā, ko te Ron Wesley. Hiri noa ki a tātou katoa, te hunga kua tau nei, kia whakamana atu tēnei rangi, tēnei kaupapa. Tēnei anō ki a tātou katoa, te hāpuri o tātou whenua taurikura me ki rā kumo tueka. Reira ko tēnei anō te mihi ki a tātou katoa. Karewe tū whakaroaronga mihi, kohi anau, rui ake ngā kōrero kei te haere mai. E oi, e tigana kia tuku mihi, kia whakapai, kia whakatau i a tātou i te ata nei. Nō reira, tēnei anō mātau o ngā chikuia e mihi atu ki a tātou katoa. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa.
E koro wharoa, shiro i ai o. Nā waiho ngā puhara keke. I tui ai te hoki nei,
Kia ora no mai tātou.
Ko Ngāti Tūmātauinga te iwi. Ko McEwen a McGregor te iwi o Scotland. Ko Sankaha te munga, ko Ea te awa. Tēnā ana ko toki koutou I roto I te kaupapa. I tēnei I rā. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to you all, ancestors, those that lie in this cemetery, honoured guests, mana whenua, Ngāti Kuia, ladies and gentlemen. 107 years ago today, Lance-Corporal WESTON, the man we're here to honour, was not surrounded by friends and community leaders. He was in a trench in France with 9 of his mates. It's said that one measure of a society is how they treat their most vulnerable, and I believe that should also include how we treat our veterans. That's why I and thousands of others volunteer to clean, record and restore service graves and memorials around Aotearoa. It is an exercise in araha, love. About 3 years ago, a few people from the New Zealand Remembrance Army started showing Havelock and other cemeteries in Marlborough a bit of araha. It wasn't your usual first date. We sprayed everything with bioshield to get the moss and mould off, then got down on our knees with a bucket of water and a brush. And positioned here in the shady side of the service section, Norm's plaque, like many others, was almost illegible. When he was cleaned up, the story, the intrigue started to emerge. How does an Australian World War I veteran come to be in Havelock? A few locals remembered him. One mentioned that he'd been wounded. It's said that it's possible to die twice. Once, when life is extinguished. The second time, when you are forgotten, when someone says your name for the last time. Thanks to the efforts of war, Norm will never be forgotten.
Good morning, my name is Major Darren Smith. I'm an officer, serving veteran and representative of the Australian High Commission. I'm joined today by my wife Louise, who is also in the Royal Australian Air Force. It is an honour and a privilege to participate in such a solemn and important ceremony. Corporal Norman Douglas Weston, born Victoria in Australia, November 1896. Norman, like many other young men at the time, within days of enlisting, recruits were training in makeshift camps set up at Australian military bases, farms, parklands and sporting grounds around Australia. At the beginning of the war, limited training was provided for recruits, focusing mainly on drills, military command, and operating equipment, such as rifles and machine guns. On arrival in Egypt, troops underwent additional training in drills and manoeuvres. The Australian Imperial Forces and the New Zealand Expeditionary Force were combined at this time into a corps, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, ANZAC. Norman served with the 22nd Australian Infantry Battalion. In September 1915, they were dispatched to Gallipoli. Their first major action, to Gallipoli Peninsula as reinforcements. The 22nd remained at Gallipoli until the final evacuation took place in December 1915. After being withdrawn back to Egypt, the battalion was reinforced before embarking to France in 1916. Their first major action came a few months later during the Battle of Pozieres, which was part of the wider Battle of Somme. Between the 25th of July and the 7th of August, 27 officers and 656 soldiers were killed and wounded. Norman was one of those soldiers wounded. The following is an extract from the cable from Norman's actions. On the 5th of August at Pozieres, Corporal Norman Weston, with 9 men from the 22nd Battalion, was holding a section of the captured trench against an enemy bombing attack. A bombing attack is throwing hand grenades. In order to get a better throw, the distance being over 40 yards, Corporal Weston climbed up to the parados and was severely wounded in the head whilst in the action of throwing. He fell forward into the trench words added today at that stage. Thanks to his action, the bomb was thrown in time and his comrades escaped unhurt. Norman received the Russian Cross of St. George of the 3rd class for gallantry for his actions. He also received the Distinguished Conduct Medal in France. Norman also received 3 service medals, being the 1914 and the 1915 Star, the British War Medal and the Victory Medal. Norman returned to Australia in 1917 and then moved to New Zealand in 1941, where he lay today. Australia and New Zealand servicemen and women have an intangible link as the custodians of a legacy that began more than 100 years ago. I have personally served alongside New Zealand servicemen and women on operations, exercises and courses throughout my military career. We have even had the honour of being posted to New Zealand in 2018 and 2019, where I served with a unit embedded into a unit with the NZDF in Trentham. The legacy of comradeship is shown in how we respond to support each other in times of natural disaster, both domestic and regionally, and the loss of fellow service personnel. The work being undertaken by the New Zealand Remembrance Army to restore and maintain graves, the graves of those that sacrificed all, it is a testament to our legacy and mateship. I extend a heartfelt thank you to all veterans, past and present, and their families. Say thank you for your work, Simon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Tēnā tātou katoa, a ka mihi ki ngā atua, ara ko ranganui ki runga, ko papatuanuku ki raro. Ka mihi ki ngā tini mate, haere, haere, haere. Ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honour and a privilege to be invited here today to the ceremony to recognise the service of Lance-Corporal Norman Weston, 22nd Infantry Battalion, and to be part of the unveiling of his plaque. It is through groups like the New Zealand Remembrance Army that we ensure that the memory of our fallen live on and that their stories continue to inspire future generations. Lance-Corporal WESTON service exemplifies the Anzac spirit that unites both Australia and New Zealand as brothers in arms. It is a relationship that began on the shores of Gallipoli in 1915, where brave soldiers like Lance-Corporal WESTON and New Zealand soldiers fought side by side, forging an unbreakable bond in the face of adversity. Their extraordinary courage, resilience and selflessness demonstrated during these challenging times have left an indelible mark on our shared heritage. The Anzac relationship goes beyond military alliances, extending to the people-to-people connections between Australians and New Zealanders. Throughout the decades, soldiers, sailors and aviators from both of our nations have continued to stand shoulder to shoulder, not only in times of war, but also during peacekeeping missions, disaster relief operations and training exercises and courses. My own personal experiences of these Anzac ties were evident during my deployment with 3 Squadron RNZAF in September 1999 as part of the Australian-led International Forces East Timor. Throughout the deployment, our contingent maintained a close working relationship with our Australian partners at Comoro Airfield in Dili and at our forward operating base in Suai. Later in 2019, I deployed with the Combined Maritime Forces in Bahrain and worked closely with our Australian counterparts in the US Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters. These deployments, along with a number of training exercises and exchanges, have only reinforced in my mind the importance of our shared language, culture and values that foster a deep sense of understanding and empathy. The values that we share not only demonstrate the commitment of our two nations to promoting peace, stability and prosperity in our region and beyond, but have also proved that a common bond exists between our two nations. While our intact relationship is important to us as a defence force, so too are our links with the community in which we live. Ultimately, the people of New Zealand are who we serve. Increasingly over the past decade, the NZDF has been involved in a wide range of domestic responses to situations that impact our communities, including earthquakes, the national response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the increasing prevalence of weather and flooding events in our communities. Outside of these responses, our community is where we recruit from, where we operate out of, and where we live. NZDF personnel are part of the community we serve, and so the relationships we build, nurture and grow are enablers to us being able to prosecute our roles in support of them. Locally, our NZDF personnel from the base at Woodburn undertake community projects such as cleaning and restoring war graves at Omaka Cemetery, as well as participating in a wide range of community activities and sporting events. These links are important to us, as are our operational outputs, as we continue to be part of the community that we serve. In conclusion, today we are here not only to remember Lance-Corporal WESTON's service, but also to draw strength from our ancestors and honour the legacy of those who have gone before us, by ensuring that their sacrifices were not in vain. It is their courage, comradeship and commitment that we remember. He toa taumataro, no reira ina mana, ina reo, ina rangatira. Tātou ka huhui maine e tēnei wā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
And the Reverend Kevin Top will now offer the blessing of the woman.
May God, the creator of the earth, bless this place and this memorial for Norman. And may it be a place of peace, of rest, where people can discover themselves. As people walk past and forward, may we start to understand the story of why this plaque is here. Help us to give thanks to our Lord for Norman, for what he did, and for what it represents in our town here of Havelock.
E rongo e. Puria tēnei mō i ngā te whakaarahia. Puria tēnei pokaoki-oki. Puria tēnei rua kōiwi o tēnei tangata. Puria tēnei tohu whakaharatanga. Kia wātea, kia māhia, kia aio. He riri ngoroi mata, he hotunga manawa. Ka ea, te wāhi ki ai tua e rongo e. Puria tēnei tohu whakaharatanga o te tangata nei ko Norman Weston. Kia wātea, kia māhia, kia tau, whano, tau mai te mairi, haumi e, hui e.
Tai ki e.
Thank you. This is an opportunity for those new Norm to speak, if you'd like to, share some stories.
Tuhi ki te rangi, tuhi ki papanautuku, tuhi ki tangata katoa, ko te mea nui, ko te aroha. A te hei mauri mate, a te hei mauri ora. To the elements, the heavens, and Mother Earth, and you the people, those things that have brought us here today, I greet them. Ara, e ngā mate. Ara, e mate no. Mō mai, mō mai, mō mai. Mō mai e te moingaro. Haere e ngā mate, haere, haere. O haere atura. To the departed, I greet them, but alas, we must farewell them. My name is Mai Haere Mason, and I represent the genetic link to Te Hoere. Our people have been in this valley since time beyond memory. So it is appropriate that we're here today to acknowledge our tupuna. I see some of my cousins here. There's Edward Kingy there and my uncle Emerson. We didn't know about him serving in the First World War, but we do know now. And was mentioned about the recordings that you've made on Norman's life. There is a saying that what is said may be remembered, but what is written most certainly be remembered. And in that is a lesson, particularly for Ngāti Kuia, that we are recording our history, which is not known, because in the written word we know who we are. I might say that, I don't want to sound facetious now, but we sang the Australian national anthem, and I pretty well know it off by heart. It's a beautiful anthem, by the way. It's beautiful. But I wonder if we're going to sing it with the same gusto this afternoon at 2:30 on TV station 50. Yeah. So I'll be interested to hear the vocals coming out of this valley. This valley, by the way, is Te Hoere to us, and Havelock is in fact Motueka. And this place, and one of the important reasons why we're here now, is that our people gifted this land to the nation. So that's why we're here. And thank you for having us here. And I might add that ara te rangatira o te reo, a kei te me whakanui ana, te mana o te reo Māori. to our previous speakers, thank you so much for the eloquence of your reo. Thank you. Now Simon, we have to keep in touch too because we've got more copies to sort of distribute around. Today is symptomatic of what we are doing as an iwi, in that much of our urapa have been obliterated. So we are in the process now of restoring them, as many as possible. And you don't realise it, but around here are a number of urapa, particularly over the other side of that hill there. And of course, if you go out to Campbellstown, you'll see all those plantings there. Have you explored any further than that away? Well, you'll see lots of plantings which have been done by our people, and in the middle of that is an urapa, a very important one, and that is to be restored back. Unfortunately, when the road was put through there, a lot of the rubble went onto the urapa. Evidence we won't know. But no, it's been a wonderful ceremony, and I know that we are feel very much part of this now, because it's all about relationships, particularly within our small communities here. That coming together on these special occasions is critical for good relationships. And I might add that with Barbara, yes, we're doing our bit, aren't we, for the Papatūānuku right throughout this region. You may have heard of the Te Hoere project. That's part of all this, the restoration of things that are important to us. And so thank you so much. And again, thank you for the wonderful occasion that has brought us all here together. So nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ka hui.
Tira mai ngā iwi,
tātou tātou e. Tira mai ngā iwi, tātou tātou e. Whai atu marangata, me te aroha e ngā iwi, kia patapatahi, kia patahita, tātou tātou e. Tātou tātou e.
A peti hono tātou hono, te unga mate te hunga mate, a peti hono tātou hono, te unga ora ki te hunga ora, a tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ka huri.
Anyone else like to speak?
G'day, my name's Simon Strombaum. I'm basically the Managing Director of the Remembrance Army. I think one person who hasn't really been acknowledged, two people who really should be acknowledged, is the work. All of our time is volunteer, it takes a lot of time. You know when you're doing the hard yards, when you're on your knees and cleaning graves, but the important thing is you bring the stories back. And Heather's done the hard yards on the tools, as is Simon, so it's probably appropriate just to say thank you for your efforts. Fantastic. Thank you.
Anyone else like to have a few words? Don't be shy, lunch isn't ready for half an hour yet.
Slow work.
And this is Cheryl Gordy, and we're Joan and Don's daughters, and Mr. Weston was our neighbour all these years, and he was like our grandfather to us all. And what we can remember about Mr. Weston was his glass eye he used to polish. I always thought it was a doll's eye. And every time we used to visit him, there was always lollies there. And on Christmas Day, he used to give us sherry, which would make us legless. It was always on a beer glass. Yeah, it was. It was a very heavy bandit. Yes, but he was an amazing person. We didn't realise, being kids, we didn't realise how important he was. Yes.
And I'm actually wearing a bracelet that he gave me, which is a rose gold bracelet. Yeah, so he's about 17 then. When I was 17 and he was 19.
I'll ask the Vice President of the Marlborough Returned Services Association, Mr. John Capp, to give the oath to the fallen.
I
They went with Somme to the battle. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Tēnei no tātai katoa. Kia tau mai ko te Māori tū, ko te Māori noho, ko te Māori o rangi, ko te Māori o papa, ko te Māori o mai o kia tai. Tau mai ko te Māori aroha, ko te Māori o ngā tūpuna, whano, tau mai ko te Māori hāmie, hui e.
Tai kie.
Kia ra mai tata.
He koronia, mai nā mono ki te whenua, makaro, whaiie, ki nā tanata katoa, ake